Hi there. Hold on 1 minute. Sorry about that if you could hear that. It was probably really gross. Some of my sickness that's coming out of me is coming out of my upper, quadrant of my body. So I might do that a couple of times. It's just the easiest thing to do when you don't have a Kleenex. So hold on 1 second. I got to put my glove on. So I had a dream last night on the first night of the 12 days of recalling your dreams. So this dream would be the dream that would correlate with January of what I may experience in January of 2026. And it was, first of all, the first dream I've had in months, maybe even a year. That was so vivid and very detailed. I was able to journal a lot of details in this one. I actually had probably 3 dreams last night, but the first one I barely remember. The second one I have a vague recollection of what was going on. And then the third one was when I woke up this morning and then was really feeling just like Mother Earth and the universe was telling me, go back to bed. We need you to rest more. So I was like, okay, heard. And this is what happened. So I was in a house that resembled the current living situation that I'm in currently, where I'm in the upstairs and I'm living in two rooms mostly, and have the rest of the house, but my space is really up in these 2 rooms. And I have a heater that you plug into the wall up there. The reason I'm telling you this is because in the dream I was in a house that resembled these 2 rooms, and I looked over near where the heater was in the dream, and there was a door where currently in real life there is a bookshelf, no door, but in the dream there was a door, and I could see through the bottom spaces and the side space what looked like a bright white light going off, and I automatically thought, oh my god, that's the heater and it's going to start a fire, thinking the plug-in was over back in that space, which it is currently, but that it for some reason was creating this white light that I was thinking was the start of an electrical fire. So for the first time in the dream, I'm thinking, I have to open this door. And so I go to open the door, and to my surprise, there's another door behind it, which just as I opened my door into my space, it just kind of flung the other door, the second door, open, and I could see stairs going down. And the feeling that I got from it when I looked down was what's the word? Just kind of like an icky, kind of dirty kind of feeling. Not icky so much, just felt dirty, just a little unclean, I guess. Not quite gross or icky, just there was a weird feeling associated with it, looking down the stairs. Now, the person that I was renting from at the time was not who I'm currently renting from in real life. It was this couple, and their names are Nancy and David. And they were my neighbors when I was up on the mountaintop doing my first 2 years of healing. They were the next door neighbors to the house that I had lived in at the time. And after I had to move out of that house after 2 years of being there, I did live with Nancy and David for 3 months in their house. They also had a basement space that was turned into a mother-in-law type of unit that was its own separate apartment, an own separate door, Same with like what I was doing in the house that I had moved from. And they were an older couple in their 70s, and he was close to 80. And I had grown close to them during that time period. But it was weird because currently I no longer speak with them anymore, because it's a long story and I won't get into it right now, but there was a falling out. And it actually happened because I got sick. It was at the beginning part of my mold sickness. I started not feeling good on certain days, and when they wanted to hang out, if I had to cancel plans, she didn't like that because she didn't understand that I was sick, even though I was trying to explain it to her. But that's the thing, when you have like a chronic illness, like a mycotoxin exposure, people don't get it, so it creates a lot of people just don't get it, and they assume that you're just trying to avoid them, or you don't want to be around them, and it has nothing to do with that. You're sick, you don't feel good. So that's basically what happened. But anyways, in the dream, going back to the dream, they had they were the ones I was renting from in this dream, in this house that was similar to what I'm living in real life. It had these 2 rooms, but it had this door with this other back door to a downstairs, where I was like, what? And it's weird because the 2 rooms I'm in real life and in the dream, were actually in the top of the house, but this went down underground. And I was like, where is this going? I don't even know where this is going to. Like, how is it going down? There's no entrance to, how are these people getting into this space? And so I didn't go down. I walk over and speak to Nancy and David, and had said, what's up with this door? What's down there? What's going on with this space? Basically something like that. And the way they started responding back to me was interesting. It's like they were trying to give me an explanation of who was down there, but it was like a little kid trying to talk to you. They were like a drunken little kid or something. I know that it's not really a thing, maybe, but it's the best way I can try to describe it, because they were trying to tell me, yeah, somebody's down there, but they weren't being clear, they weren't being detailed. It was almost like they were trying to hide something, and that they weren't proud of it, or I don't know. It was like that type of feeling. So finally, I have to kind of pull this information out of them. And when I had continued to ask them and inquire more, well, who is this? Can you tell me more? And I started getting more detailed in my questions that I'd asked, because if I didn't keep them on track, they'd just veer off, and they were very aloof. It was definitely not who they are in real life. And so that was really weird too. But they get to a place where they're like, yeah, there's people down there. Well, they go, here, let's go down finally, after a while. So we go downstairs, and sure enough, there's a huge apartment down these stairs. And kind of like the stairwell itself, it was a weird vibe, a weird frequency. It was kind of unkept, but not quite crazy messy or disorganized. It was just, there was apparently a grandson of theirs and a son. Now in real life they only have one son who is in his mid-20s, and this guy, because the grandson was early 20s, so the son of theirs would have been obviously at least 30s, upper 30s, if not 40s at least, right? But it's weird because I only got to meet and see the face and the person and the energy of the son. I never got to see it's the grandson. I never got to see the actual son. So I see the kid, and he is drinking, I think, and playing video games. And he was, I mentioned, in his early 20s. So it was weird. weird because he seemed like he was maybe, a little on the slower side or something, because it was in the way he was talking, and you could tell, like, it was almost like they were like hiding out down there, or like Nancy and David were hiding them, because I remember when the kid smiled or opened up his mouth, at least, I don't know if he was smiling, but his teeth were very it just looked like he had never, like, either brushed his teeth nor had any, like, had ever been to a dentist, like they were pretty haggard up, and and he was only in his early 20s, maybe just 21. He maybe wasn't even 21, I don't know, maybe he was drinking and not at even legal drinking age. But he comes over and he's talking to me as well now, and it's very aloof as well. It was just so weird. And apparently, like, the dad, their son, was gone. I don't know. So we all come back upstairs into my space, and it's interesting because then he's talking to me, and Nancy and David are still there. But it was just this really, like, weird feeling, like, what do you do to, like, I was just so confused. Like, first of all, how is this space here? How are you guys getting into the house? I had so many questions, I felt. And I was like, why is this why have you guys been kept a secret? And there was a lot of secretive, like, energy around this. So skip ahead now to all of a sudden, through my door, that door that went to this door downstairs, now all of a sudden there's like another space through this door that goes into an adjoining restaurant. And there's a table where there's 3 people at the table. Like, supposedly this grandson, was supposed to wait on this table. But he kept, like, stalling. He was trying to open up this bottle of wine. And I specifically can recall it was a white wine. I don't know why I can remember that much detail about the alcohol. But he was trying to get this open. That was his main concern. So he was like, he wasn't saying this, but he was just avoiding waiting on the table because he really wanted to, I guess, open this bottle of wine. And then all of a sudden, so I was thinking, like, oh, I guess, if he wants help, I'll wait on the table. And then my mom shows up. And it was weird because she wasn't really being herself either. And it felt like she was, like, managing this restaurant or something. And it was kind of like cafe diner style. And I remember saying to her, like, well, I can, pick this table up if you want. She's like, no, that's okay. We'll wait for him or something. But then all of a sudden, my sister shows up. Now, you got to remember, I had to disown and emancipate myself from my family last year. Right around this time, and actually we're about less than a month away where that had to happen. An initial cut, at least from my mom and my sister at that time, which that's why it's interesting that it was just those 2. And then my sister, my mom basically says no, it's just kind of insinuated that she's gonna take the table or something. She's never had any, like, serving type of experience in her life. That was not an area that she ever dove into as far as any job. So, and I have over, like, 20 some years of serving and bartending experience. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, they were like, so she has my sister take it. And my mom was also being very aloof and, like, not, it was weird. It was a very interesting vibe that she was giving. There wasn't a lot of emotion coming from her. And so then I woke up, basically. And it's very interesting because I have a lot of thoughts about it. I had a lot of thoughts about the fact that this dream is going to represent January of 2026, okay? And I have been getting a lot of downloads that have been indicating that some secrets are going to be coming out about the family. And I mean, it's really interesting because, if you've been following my videos, you know that I'm not quite sure who my real father is. I'm not sure about all the culty secrets that are going on in my family, especially on my mom's side. There's a lot of secrets. There's a lot of trauma on that side that's unspoken, but I can feel it, especially now that I understand that there's more truth to this. And so it's interesting because to me that dream is telling me that there's going to be some secrets exposed in January of 2026. And if that's happening for me, that means it's happening for this collective and anybody that's watching this. And so, you know, I put that, I kind of throw that out there for you to try to remember your dreams, because I think your spirit team, your guides and whatnot are going to be trying to speak to you through your dreams pretty intensely, because it's like I have not had a dream. I have not been able to have that much detail, and to be honest, I don't even know if I did have this much detail about a year ago. I was, you know, until all this stuff happened again, where I found out who my family truly is this past year. And, you know, it definitely put me back in survival mode, defaulted me back into survival mode, unconsciously, subconsciously, because of how intensely traumatizing and horrific of the epiphanies and the realizations of who my family really is, and just how karmic, narcissistic, and emotionally neglectfully immature that they are. Finding out that aspect to help me really put the pieces of my puzzle together, and knowing that there are so many secrets that basically, you know, I had to realize, like, wow, my mom has been just spewing out lies. Her and my dad were spewing out lies my whole life. And so everything that I thought I knew growing up, I don't, you know? And so I felt called to speak about my dream because it feels pretty profound for me. I feel like there's going to be some huge revelations and secrets being exposed about people, especially because first of all, it's one thing for me to remember a dream, but the fact that my mom and my sister were in my dream, I definitely don't, have dreams with my family members in it, and I feel like that's the universe giving me a sign about something. And so I'm very intrigued to see what's going to unfold in January. But then the fact too that they had Nancy and David in my dream as the people I was renting from, like, I don't know, there's something about that there too, which is really interesting. I don't know. I mean, at one point she really was, I considered her, when I was not talking to my family through the, those 8 to 10 years I wasn't speaking to them when I was healing. I referred to them as my, adoptive family, because she was supportive in the way that a mother should be to somebody. And she didn't, I was a stranger, upon meeting them, right? And I had only known them for about, 2 years before I started living with them for 3 months. And then that's when, after that time period, is when I moved into my first mold home. But I just wanted to put this out there for those of you that might also have some weird situations within your family that you're wondering. Maybe you have some, similar situation where you have a life that you're trying to figure out and put back. Like, I honestly, I feel like I don't know who I am because I don't know the family that I grew up in. They're complete strangers to me at this point, based off of what I experienced and witnessed this past year. And so if anybody else can relate with this, or maybe you've had a dream too, I just would ask that you comment, because I feel like collectively there might be, information for us all within these dreams. So there you go. And yeah, hope you had some fun enjoying being out. I'm literally sitting out on an icy lake right now. Hope you had fun out in the tundra with me. I send you love and gratitude. And definitely comment below if you have any similar dream experiences or thoughts or comments you want to make about this. I would love to hear your thoughts and comments. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you for watching.